All right, before we get to the shocking part of comparing these two log profiles, let's go ahead and just look at some footage. So here's shot number 1. And here is shot number 2. Now let's put them side by side. Which one do you think is FLog 2 and which one do you think is CLog 2? Well, if you answered that the first one is FLog 2, you are correct. Good job. If you watched one of my previous videos about getting rid of my Canon R5 and switching to the Fuji XH2s, and several of you gave me a lot of flack for that, it's fine, I get it, you know. But I really went to this camera because of the video capabilities. I was using my Canon R5 more heavily for video, and this is a better video camera. Quite honestly, you can hate me in the comments and that's fine, but I think it's just true. And I was really interested in the FLog 2 compared to the CLog 2 in my Canon C70 that I'm filming on right now. The R5 only had CLog 3, and I wasn't a huge fan of that. So I was really interested in, when I tested this camera before I even bought it, I got some really good results comparing it to CLog 2, and it got me excited about the future of using these two cameras together. So what has been most shocking of FLog 2 and CLog 2? Well, let's look at this footage, comparing these side by side, trying to show you the best I could, especially with softer light and skin tones. Now let's put them side by side. So that's the shocking part, is that if you look at skin tones, quite honestly, and you look at that footage, I don't think right out of the box, just converting it to Rec 709, that you're going to be able to tell that one is FLog 2 and one is CLog 2. And that is what amazed me and shocked me when I used these cameras for the first few weeks, is that in interviews, skin tones matched really, really well. And I was excited about that because that makes post-production, workflow, everything that much smoother and that much easier and that much better. And also just, I mean, we want to have good skin reproduction in our colors and across the cameras that we use. And I didn't always feel like I got the closest reproduction of skin tones between the C70 and the Canon R5, even though it's the same color science. And that's why I'm shocked that C70 and the XH2s, when I'm shooting skin tones, that it looks like it matches way better. And another thing that was shocking was, in some cases, I actually found myself really liking the Fuji FLog 2 shots, the footage, more than my Canon C70 footage. And I didn't expect that. I didn't expect to get to a point where I would want to take the C70 and make it look more like the Fuji. I was thinking I was going to take the Fuji and try and make it look more like the C70 and CLog 2. So that's a unique thing that I've discovered, not in every instance, but in several instances, I really like the footage coming out of this better than the C70. Now, where things were a little bit different was when I went out and tested in really harsh lighting conditions. So I took both cameras out downtown around high noon, and I wanted to just get some shots of the city, of the sky, of clouds, and really compare the two. And this is where things did get different. And you can tell the FLog 2 looks cooler. Like there's more blues in the shadows versus the CLog 2, which looks warmer and has more of a magenta shift. Now, the magenta shift in the Canon footage is not a surprise to anybody. Like, we know that Canon footage typically shifts a little bit more magenta, whereas, you know, like Sony's kind of shift a little bit more green. So that's not a shock, but this is where the footage, this is where you could more distinguish which one was FLog 2 and which one was Canon Log 2. And this is where it didn't match up perfectly, was in these harsher conditions, this harsher light. But I am pleased to say, and this is again, another thing that was what got me interested in this camera and got me excited and has proven to be true, is that the dynamic range with FLog 2 and with this camera is on par with the dynamic range with the C70. And when the C70 released, it blew a lot of people's minds because of the dynamic range of the camera was so close to like some of the RE cameras in a package that was only like $5,500. And quite honestly, that's why I went with the C70, because of the dynamic range. And now I have a B camera that seems to have very, very good, near as good dynamic range as the C70. And I just didn't get that with the R5, nor did I, and really, in all honesty, nor did I really expect that. Wasn't putting that expectation on the R5, okay? So don't get mad at me. Wasn't putting that on the R5. But I was looking for another camera that could help me when it came to dynamic range and a B camera. And I feel like that's true. And you'll look at this in some of these shots, particularly in the windows. If you look from inside to outside, the dynamic range in the windows and what's exposed outside, it matches very well with the CLog 2 and the dynamic range of the C70. Overall, I was very shocked from the very beginning at how close skin tones matched and how you didn't have to work beyond just converting to Rec. 709 to have those skin tones look almost exactly the same. Sure, you can do some touch-ups and color and adjust them a little bit, but just converting them to Rec. 709 in DaVinci Resolve, I was brilliantly surprised and shocked that skin tones were so close. So at the end of the day, FLog 2, CLog 2, they match very well, I would say 70% of the time. There's gonna be 30% of the time where you're gonna have to do some more work to make them match. But I felt like with the Canon R5, with CLog 3 and CLog 2, I was spending, I don't think that they matched 50% of the time. Felt like I was spending more time than I've had to spend with FLog 2 matching that to CLog 2. So take all that into consideration. I think at the end of the day, I am more pleased with FLog 2 and matching that to CLog 2 and using both of them. Great images, beautiful images, lots of dynamic range. That's what gets me truly pumped. All right, if you've got any questions or you want to see anything else, drop those questions below. If you want to roast me further about switching to Fuji, I'm a big boy, I can take it. It's all good. You can roast me in the comments. All right, y'all, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and I will see you all on another one. Peace.